it's Lizzie. So I just got my hair redone, so it's blonde at the top again. Today's theology topic is why I personally love that the majority of Catholic priests are unmarried and celibate. This is just my experience being Catholic for 5 years. I know a lot of priests. I've worked with so many and been to different parishes, traveled a lot, and I think it makes sense. I did make a full-length theology video of the history of unmarried priests in the Catholic Church, so that will be linked up here and below if you want the theology segment of all the evidence and sources and history. But this is just gonna be living as a Catholic, why it works. So as Catholics, we call our priest father and then their first name or their last name, whichever they want to go by. But it actually feels like we're the priest's children because most priests live at the same place where the church is. At my first Catholic church, there was kind of like a walkway patio in between the main church where we worshiped and the rectory, which is the name of where the priest lived. In the priest's dining room, that's where we had RCIA, that's where we had Bible study. When we were preparing coffee and donut hour after Mass on Sunday, we would make the coffee in the priest's kitchen, we would cook there, we would hang out in the priest's house. And if our priest had children, we couldn't just be like showing up there and he couldn't be hosting people really late at night. Our parish Bible study went until like 9 p.m. And think if you have young children, you're doing like dinner, bath time, putting them to bed. It just wouldn't work that the priest's house could be available for people to hang out in all day and that the priest could be fully attentive and leading stuff going on. And so just the fact that we can hang out in the priest's house, it literally feels like the priest is the father figure and we're just hanging out in the house. So I really like that a lot. Also, quick disclaimer, in the Eastern Catholic churches, so like Byzantine, Melkite, Ukrainian Catholic, all the Eastern rites, a lot of the priests are married, so they can choose to be married or unmarried. Same in the Orthodox Church, where a lot of the priests are married. Also, if a priest who is Anglican converts into Catholicism and is already married with kids, then he's able to be a priest. So there are exceptions, and there are a lot of Catholic priests who are married, but the majority currently are unmarried. For most families, the husband and wife, whoever's working, will be Monday to Friday, and then they'll have the weekend off to spend family time together. But the weekend is the busiest time for priests. It's when they have confession is typically on Saturday, and then Mass is on Saturday morning, Saturday night, 3 Masses on Sunday, and so all of Sunday is just so absorbed in what's going on with Mass in the parish. And so I think, like I said, with Eastern Rite churches, they will typically have like one liturgy on Sunday, whereas the Latin Rite Catholic churches will have like 4 or 5 masses over the weekend, and then also daily Mass. And it was really interesting coming from being Protestant my whole life, because Protestant pastors have like the whole week to prepare their sermon. Catholic priests, every single day they have Mass. And so for every day they have to prepare the homily, which is the Catholic version of a sermon. Another thing is that for certain sacraments, priests need to be ready at moment's notice. For example, if someone is in the hospital and about to die, the priest will get a phone call and he has to drive to the hospital and do last rites. If the priest is a father, he might be like watching his kids and not able to just like leave the house to go help someone from his church who's dying. One of the priests I work with has a lot of funerals at his parish, and just suddenly like 3 hours that day are devoted to planning the funeral and doing the funeral. There are people who need to set up a confession appointment last minute, and that can happen at a random time in the middle of the week. Also, baptisms. When converts are baptized, it's typically everyone's baptized at Easter, but babies are always being born, and so the priest will have to schedule in a baptism into the schedule that he already has. Having children to take care of, having a wife, it would just be, I think the priest wouldn't be able to be a good husband and a good father. Based upon the sheer amount of Catholics in the US, most parishes, there's one priest and hundreds of Catholics who go to the church. And so I think if it was a much smaller parish, which actually the Eastern Rite churches, a lot of them have way less people who go to the church. But I think if there's hundreds of people and one priest, that the priest would not be able to be a good father or a good husband with how hectic his schedule is and how time consuming everything is. I just think it works a lot better where the sole focus of the priest is the people at the church. A lot of the people in my life who haven't liked the idea of Catholic priests not being married are thinking of it from the perspective of a Protestant pastor where your main obligation is Sunday morning, maybe Sunday night, maybe like one event during the week. Whereas Catholic priests are like, go, 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 go. Like we have so many events going on every single day. So chaotic, but beautiful. Also, as Catholics, we believe that it is a higher good to be celibate for the kingdom, as St. Paul says. And I actually want to read from 1 Corinthians 7, where St. Paul talks about how it's better to be unmarried, and he wishes that everyone was unmarried. So here it is, starting in verse 7, I wish that all of you were as I am, being single, but each of you has your own gift from God. One has this gift, another has that. Now to the unmarried and the widows I say, it is good for them to stay unmarried, as I do. But if they cannot control themselves, they should marry. It's better to marry than to burn with passion. Yes, so St. Paul, the most iconic missionary, was unmarried. Jesus was also unmarried. But then St. Peter was married. As a younger sibling, I also just vibe with it really well, because I always think of my older sister and my parents as supporting me so much and always being there for me. I can always call them if I have a problem. They have really good advice. They're always there if I have some kind of like catastrophe going on and need help. And so I really like the idea of how the priest is our parent who's supporting us all the time. We never have to question ourselves like, oh, does he have time for me? His entire life is devoted to taking care of all the Catholics at his parish. And so I just feel like there's so much freedom where you never feel like you're invading their time because their whole life is for you. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!